Break. Some of the sound of the sea breaks off and becomes fear and need and longing, to surge and be deep, to melt sky and water and bird. Some of the bird breaks and becomes song, warning, flight feeling, looking for another. Boiling clouds tear edges of bright folding rolls, brittling shores in the sky. Door of the sky, what holds you open? What stops you flying off into space? Some of the surf has broken off and become laughter of flapping windbreakers. Some of the laughter breaks off and becomes footprints sugaring the sand. The tide bursts and breathes. Some of the sand breaks off and becomes pit, spade, hands reaching into the hole, looking for the story of the earth. Some of the story breaks off and becomes air in my lungs. A shell pen digs your name. Some of your name breaks off and run chases, will not be found, cannot be hidden, will always be spoken. See, wow. You don't have to write poems, do you, about sort of leaves?
No.
Do you?
No,
although leaves
absolutely,
are beautiful. Yes. But this standing on the shore, looking, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? You know, to see the sea surging at this time of year in particular.
The sea in the autumn is very different to the sea in the summer.
Very, in every possible way, but not in its potential for danger and in its possibility to change. And also, what I didn't put in here, I must do another one about this, it's just come to me, about its potential to create, you know, because the sea is a source of life, isn't it?
But I kind of got that from your poem anyway.
Did you?
Because the way that things break off and become something else, you get that life-giving sense within that poem, I think.
Well, may I be pretentious for a moment?
Please do. Please do.
I've been reading a lot about Buddhism at the moment, and which I'm very, very into. But we must also explore your the heritage you very much take on yourself, Andrew, in the pagan world also. But there's this lovely stuff about manifestation. You know, that things aren't necessarily created, but they manifest. You know, and there's something even more magical about that than the thought that an unseen hand has put that there and that there and that there. To me, the greater wonder is, which I think I'm trying to. Anyway, the point is, what's the point of trying to explain your poem?
Well, absolutely, that's what you shouldn't do.
You shouldn't do. It's like trying to explain a joke.
Absolutely. But the thing that I got was everything is connected from your poem.
That will do me.
It was the golden thread of everything being connected, which I thought was really lovely, and the way it morphs between the sea and the foam and the sand and the story, and it's really good.
I yes, even as I read it, I thought, gosh, yes. Anyway, we do have a thing in this country, don't we, Andrew and viewer, that we're very modest. If we were doing from, let's say, America, maybe we would be a bit more, but I don't know. Anyway, a bit of reserve is not necessarily a bad thing.
I had to read out some poetry in front of 360 people. I remember the exact number. And after reading each one, it was all kind of, you know, very kind of, And I was followed shortly afterwards by an American poet who was totally different in terms of the way that they received the applause for it. So, yes. Yes, that's always interested me for another day, maybe. But now, Andrew, would you care to share a poem for our? I'm sorry, it's not going to be. May not reach the giddy heights of 360 people. No, it's not one of mine. This one, it's by a little known Warwickshire poet called Will.I.am Shakespeare. No, it doesn't ring a bell. No. But I read this and I thought this it was quite good. It's Sonnet 73.
Ah, beautiful.
That time of year thou mayst That time of year thou mayst in me behold, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang upon those boughs which shake against the cold, bare ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day, as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away.
death's second self that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well, which thou must leave ere long.
And if I may say, beautifully read. Beautifully read. As Steve Farr would say, and a director we both know, that wasn't acted, that was felt. It wasn't so much read as felt. In fact, the room's got very, very hot now with all this astonishing poetry flying around. So do you mind if I open the door for a bit? It's the studio light. I say studio, but viewer is very much my living room.
It's very professional.
It's very much one of the 4 rooms in this house. In the middle of the countryside, actually. And so that's giving the trees in this. I've tried to plant my garden like it was a woodland, with trees that I found round about. I say I planted them. Of course I didn't. Somebody who knows what they're doing planted them. Because anyway, but there's almost no point by going any further with that, because you can't see the garden, viewer. I may hoist a picture up there.
Well, we could put it here.
I could put. Well, here it is. Here is, and you can see what I've tried to do is, because you may see in this picture the astonishing oak trees, and this was just a bare patch of land, and I just wanted to give back to the oak trees their tribe, their people, because they talk to each other, trees, don't they?
They have the mycelial, yes.
Would you care to share the mycelial?
The mycelial network is the connection of the fungi between the roots of the trees. That's how they communicate with each other.
You can tell, can't you, that Andrew is very close to this whole world, and also very close to the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, where you must see this in rich evidence.
Well, yes.
Changing of the seasons and so on. And
yes, it's very lovely being able to walk around those properties and see those seasons change. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now I'm going to kill the mood completely now, viewer, by singing to you.
I didn't know this was a thing.
No.
I didn't know we had to sing.
No, I didn't tell you that, or you wouldn't have come. But
I only do sea shanties.
You do, well, the floor is yours. The floor is yours. Fiona would like to hear a sea shanty from you, I'm sure.
I take the accompanying rum as well.
No, I just like this. I like this. Oh, thank you, Vicar. That's yes. I love this Flanders and Swan song about the seasons, which I'm sure you know. Bleak September's mist and mud is enough to chill the blood. Then October adds a gale. Wind and slush and rain and hail. Dum, da, dum, 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 dum. That's how that goes. Now, before we go any further, then let us go. Oh well, no, please. We have to have John Clare's poem, do we not, viewers? Which most of us did at school. If you're as old as I am, about 145 years old, and you went to St Misery's School for the Perpetually Damned.
That still exists.
Yes. Head teacher, Sister Merciless. The terror of the convent. I didn't go to a convent school, I need to make that clear. So this is, of course, John Clare's Autumn, which I'm not going to do the whole of because it's a very long poem, but I'm going to grab the opportunity of doing 2 before Andrew does his final poem for this month's edition. So many I want to share there. Here we go. I love the fitful gusts that shakes the casement all day, and from the mossy elm tree takes the faded leaf away, twirling it by the window pane with 1,000 others down the lane. I love to see the shaking twig dance till the shut of eve, the sparrow on the cottage rig
whose chirp would make believe that spring was just now flirting by. In summer's lap with flowers to lie. I love to see the cottage smoke curl upwards through the naked trees, the pigeons nestled round the cote. On dull November days like these, the cock come upon the dung hill crowing, the mill sails on the heath a-going, the feather from the raven's breast falls on the stubble lee. The acorns near the old crow's nest fall pattering down the tree. The grunting pigs that wait for all scramble and hurry where they fall. There's just no words necessary other than that. The gift that such a writer has, you know, through images. What last month you were saying about Fiona's poem? Is
The detail.
Actually, it was your poem, I think. No, it's Fiona's
It's
lovely
Fiona's.
poem
Yeah.
about Chloe and the walking up the hill. And that did remind me, funnily enough, talking about Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, of those beautiful pigs on the farm.
Yes.
Are they all right?
They had a trip last year. I don't know
What,
if
they had-
am I contractually allowed to tell you this?
Too many acorns?
No, well,
The wrong sort of acorns?
we let them out at Anne Hathaway's cottage when we closed the cottage for the winter. I work on the environmental stuff for the Birthplace Trust, and so we put them into the orchard so that they would take the grass down naturally and then release the seeds from, rather than us putting wildflower seeds in, that they would release what was actually in the seedbed. So yeah, the pigs are still there, the pigs are doing very well, and they have occasional holidays at Anne Hathaway's.
Let's invite them on.
They've got a very high fee.
Let's not have them. Let's not have anything to do with those expensive pigs. They're a bit of a bore. Do you see what I did there? Do you see
Very
what I did?
nice.
See what I
We
did?
like that very much.
Yes. Well, now, would you care to share another poem? No pressure.
Well, as you've read John Clare, the obvious one, which we mentioned when I came
I'm
in,
going to
was
predict it's Keats. Yep. It's got to be Keats.
definitely got to be
Gotta be
Keats.
I love the cover of these books.
It's lovely, very, very lovely. There we go, the Ode to the Nightingale on the front cover. But again, who knew To Autumn was that long? So I'm only going to do the first stanza.
Share as much as you like. This is your final poem for this edition.
That's
so.
fine. Just the first one, because I haven't practiced the other two. So just the first stanza. Season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruits with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. There's an interesting thing in this and
Are you
that.
sure you want to stop there?
I can stagger on.
Well, do some more. Yes,
I can
come on.
stagger on. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting carelessly on the granary floor, thy hair soft lifted with the winnowed wind, or on a half-repeated furrow sound asleep, doused with the fume of poppies, while they hook spares the next swath and all its twinned flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou doth keep steady thy laden head across the brook, or by a cider press with patient look thou watchest the last oozings hour by hour. Oozings, that's a good word.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
There's an interesting thing in this one, and I think I got it in the Clare as well, about the autumn and the autumn reminding people of the spring, which is a really interesting thought.
It is an interesting thought, and interestingly also, you were saying earlier, you're not a big fan of the spring, are you?
Don't like the spring at all. No, really struggle with it.
Why is that? Do you care to share? You don't have to. You don't have to.
I like the colour of the autumn. I like the kind of the variety of colours, the yellows, the reds. I find spring far too green. It's very green, and it's quite an and it's light, and yeah, I find it quite an assault on the senses. Spring, which I think is perhaps why I don't like it.
I personally, not that anyone's interested in the slightest, but I personally find the autumn lovely, except for the light. I'm so wimpy
that there's so much dark
Yes, there is.
in these days
Yeah.
that it because I am 150 years old. It is so I love the spring because it's the
Yes.
return of
Yes.
life and the return
Yeah.
of the.
Every night just gets that little tiny bit longer, doesn't it?
Yes.
The light goes into the evening a bit more.
And it's that period between, for me, it's that period between about sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon and when it goes completely dark, when it's neither one nor the other, and it's like the world isn't quite sure whether it's what to do. And I think that in old days, because we're Neolithic people with iPhones, aren't we? And we still retain parts of our brain that, of course, have been shaped and honed and polished in evolutionary time. And it must be, mustn't it? There must be a part of our brain still that thinks, uh-oh, will there be a tomorrow?
And I think autumn brings that. I think having now got to a certain age, I kind of, last year was the first year I thought, oh, that's been a hard winter. I've never thought that before. But actually I was like, oh, it's been a hard winter. And going into that, I think as you get older can be quite worrying.
Yes, it can be. However, there is also cake at this time of year,
yes.
is there not? Which is
much pumpkin pie.
pumpkin pie and Christmas cake.
And Christmas
I
cake.
made a Christmas cake yesterday because it's just so lovely. It shouldn't be confined to that part of the year.
completely
With
agree.
marzipan, but not icing, because icing is just a little too much, isn't it? It's not very autumn, is it?
Marzipan
icing.
is though, but like you
But
say,
fruit
icing.
cake is the very essence of autumn.
Of autumn,
thick
yes,
and rich and
absolutely.
sweet and stored and released. Like because I just plucked some apples from my tree. The autumn and is often actually I've just thought of that. Isn't autumn a time when things kind of come to fruition?
It's the harvest, yes. I mean, I start my autumn celebrations on the 1st of August. Because that's the wheat harvest. So you go wheat harvest into the fruit harvest around September. So I kind of start celebrating autumn from August because I love autumn.
Right. And autumn has all sorts of different names. We've just discussed that at the start of this edition, so let's close with that. By what other names is this period of the year known? It's equinox.
The equinox, the autumn equinox is known as Mabon. But a lot of people are going off that name. It's named after the Celtic child. And it's sitting on the cross quarter days. So people have given it this funny name of kind of Mabon, meaning child, meaning the golden child. But actually it should be about celebrating age rather than celebrating youth. Because if you think about the cycle, we are heading into kind of older age.
Well, thank you, viewers, for joining us on this edition of the Vocable Hour. And we will see you next month. That's a lovely note to finish on. I can think of nothing else that would be of any interest after that. And if you don't mind, send me some links so I'll put those in to what you just said, because I know people will be curious, and I'm curious to follow what you've just said in some way. One of the things I love about what you do, Andrew, is that you revive, or not revive, but I don't know what it is, you platform, you illuminate. You produce a light by which things which have been, what should we say, sidelined by the dominant cultures, more brought into the world because of the work you do and so on with your celebration of these things.
It's really important we don't forget those, because as you were saying, it's what you said about we're Neolithics with iPhones.
Yes.
So we have to remember those cycles and those things.
Yes, and it's better to look to those people who knew the earth better than we do to learn about the earth.
Absolutely.
Than, say, Elon Musk or, names that will easily spring to my mind, but not the names of people who have gone 1,000 years ago, but by whom we are linked through direct ancestry.
And like you say, who understood it better.
And who understood it better, indeed. Well, goodbye for now, and we'll see you next month. Are you saying goodbye?
Oh, bye-bye.
Or something in pagan speak.
Hail and farewell.
Hail and farewell. And that's also a weather forecast, I think, probably for tomorrow.
Hail and farewell.
That could be a double act. I'll be very much farewell.
Actually, I do think a weather programme coming up with the storms and the hail
Yes.
and farewell. I can
There's-
see you are one with the world. Yeah.